Good morning, Swiffle Thinking. We are back and we are finally finished with those annoying analytics. Ah, somebody out there is hating me for making you guys do 3, 4 videos of that. But we've now tagged up our entire app and we have micro data on all of our user actions. We know exactly how people are going to use our app. And because of that, in this video, we're now going to review what we have done, put it into practice, and actually build out a couple charts so that we can see all of this data that I was actually just talking about. Let's jump into our code base here. And firstly, in the last video, we added the log manager to the user manager, as well as to the auth manager, but I didn't actually inject it. So let's go to our dependencies. And when we create our user manager, we also should inject a log manager. So I'm going to take the log manager and put it at the top. And then let's take log manager and inject it into the user manager as well as into the auth manager. Do the same thing for dev. Let's put the log manager at the top. Let's add here the log manager. Same thing for the user manager as well. One more time for the prod. Let's go ahead and put it up here. And here we have the log manager. And one final time for the log manager. Pretty cool. All right, now that we have it set up, let's switch to our development build because remember our mock does not push analytics, but our development build does. Let's go ahead and build and run it to a simulator. And let's just click around our app for a little while. I will keep the console here full screen. And so if we did everything right, we should start to see a bunch of analytics coming through our console. My app is building here and survey says a couple things logged here so far. Let's actually start by switching our dependencies. Print parameters for the console service. Let's go print parameters as false for now. Build and run it one more time, just because we can see that they're already clogging up in the console here. We'll turn them back on before the end of the video, but so just so that we can see at a higher level. All right, so some of these are a little out of order because of the order that these screens actually render in SwiftUI, but Explore View is appeared here. Load avatars start, load popular start. We attached our auth listener. We logged some user properties. We can see the user ID here. User manager successfully logged in. We can see that the auth manager listener was successful. The user manager login was successful. And we don't have anything red popping out here. So we would have all those warnings in red if any of those severe analytics did trigger. I'm getting one error here. User property name is too long. Maximum supported length is 24. I thought it was 40. Oh, for the user properties. How many is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, this is about 28. User did complete onboarding. So let's just go to the user properties for Firebase Analytics. Let's go Firebase Analytics Service. And the user properties are in the add user properties function. Let's go ahead and make these up to 24. And that should be fine. Let's build and run. Hopefully our warning goes away. I thought it was 40, but anyway, all right, that warning is gone and we are ready to rock and roll. Let's click into our chat screen. Chat view load messages fail. Okay. Load messages should fail because this is not an actual error. So let's go down to where we have that. And that probably should have been a warning, not a severe. So move this to warning. Build and run it again. Just a couple small tweaks here, but we do see a lot of good analytics here, even though there was one that was off. Load messages fail. That was normal. That's correct. Load popular success. Load the avatar start. Load avatar success. Chat loaded success. Explore view disappeared. This is all correct. Hello world. And let's see if we get an answer here. Send message. Start. Okay. Response sent. This all looks great. What are you doing today? Oh, just hanging out here, studying, trying to soak in some knowledge. Cool. Let's go ahead and maybe report the chat. See a bunch of logs coming through here. So generally speaking now, as I move around my app, I can see in real time all the analytics logging on the left here. I'll make a new avatar. We'll make this avatar called Mark. Mark will be a alien as well. He will be sitting in the museum. And I do think that there is a bug here because I have create avatar back button press just triggered. When I did the generate image, back button pressed. All right, we must have the wrong analytic on that. Let's jump into the, let's copy it. Let's jump into where we have back button pressed. And yeah, generate image. This should be gen image start. And then gen image success. Let's go ahead and save it. Save avatar start, success. This is just some stuff printed out from Firebase. This all looks pretty good. This is exactly what we expected. Let's jump to our explore view again. Maybe we click on one of these. Category list view is now appearing. Cool. Let's run through onboarding once. So let's go ahead and I will sign in. And we have a bug because this did not update. Okay, let's try it again. What I'm going to do is jump to our dev and see if I am signed in. Anonymous is true. Login Apple success. How could I possibly still be anonymous? Let's see if the auth manager listener success. Why is the auth manager not triggering? All right, this is a little weird. Let's debug this situation real quick. The auth manager should have updated, but this listener did not trigger. So let's debug the auth quick and let's just do lots of testing here. So I'm going to filter for the auth manager events and let's jump to our dependencies file and let's put our print parameters back to true. And I'm just going to do some signing in, signing out, make sure our auth listener is working. I have a feeling that we have a bug somewhere and we're about to find out. All right, auth listener success when I open up the app here is anonymous is false. Let's jump in here and sign out. All right, I will sign out. Auth listener sign out success new ID. Okay, it is working. That's better than I thought it was going to be. Notice how awesome this is to debug now, right? Because I have all of my auth manager events coming through here. I can see in real time exactly what's happening. All right, so now let's jump into our code here. Let's try again to sign in and save account. When I sign in, it should be connecting me to a different account. It should go back to this one essentially. So this one, I will sign in here again. And let's see if the auth listener updates. It does update. Okay, and it worked this time. Okay, that was really weird. I don't know why it was not working in the last session. Okay, that is something that if it happens again, we're going to have to debug it again. But it's actually working now. Let's delete the account and see if that works. Delete account start, delete account success. And the screen did not dismiss. Do we have a different bug? Let's go to our settings view. Weird behaviors. All right. Delete account, on delete account pressed. We have delete account start did trigger. Delete account success did trigger. So, all right. Delete account success happened in the auth manager, but for some reason we didn't actually delete the account. Let's change our filter here to delete account. Delete account, confirm, start, delete account. Okay, the auth manager started, the user manager started, successful in both of these. Start confirm, but the error didn't print out here. So what happened? Let's X out. Okay, delete account success. I don't know if this printed out. It did not. Okay, so we must have our app must be hanging in the delete account method here. One of these did not work. And it's kind of hard to tell which one did not work because we have this async let. So, but we don't have an error popping up. So we know that it must be hanging somewhere in one of these. Otherwise, an error would have alerted us that it failed. And we didn't get this success analytic. So it's got to be one of these four. I assume the delete these worked because we got some delete auth success in here. It's probably one of these two. Let's go ahead and try to debug these. So what I'm going to do right now is just comment this out. And let's just do these individually. Try await auth manager dot delete account. Try await user manager dot delete current user. Try await this, and one more for the chat manager. Try await this. In here, let's just put some breakpoints, so we'll know if we get to each of these. All right, let's build and run. A little bit of debugging. Did not expect to be doing this, but all right, jump in here. Let's delete the account, see if it works. Okay, that one triggers. Okay, that one triggers. This one triggers. This one triggers. Okay, let's put another breakpoint down here. And now it works. And now it signs us out. What is going on? Okay, this is so weird. Now it's working perfectly. We didn't change anything. Maybe the async let was throwing it off? That seems super strange. Let's try it again from scratch. I'm going to delete these breakpoints, and let's just leave it without async let. That might be an optimization that we just don't need for right now. All right, let's Command R, build and run another fresh instance. Let's see if we can get the app working again. Let's get our blue profile. I got my blue profile image. Let's go ahead and delete account. And okay, that worked. Let's try signing in it now. So let's jump back into our app. Maybe we add some chats. Hello. What's up? All right, let's add another chat. Hey. Cool. Let's jump into our profile. Let's add an avatar. Ronald. Ronald will be a man smiling in the park. Generate image start. Let's get our image. Let's save it, our avatar. Cool. This is all working. Let's connect our Apple account. Let's go ahead here. All right, and this time it didn't work. There is some edge case that I have not found. Oh, you know what it must be? It must be because we linked the account. The auth manager is not updating because it's actually the same user ID. And so it thinks that it is the same data point. Because I can see here now, the user ID is the same and is anonymous is false. Up here in my auth manager, I should have auth manager. Yeah, so the user ID here, and it was true. Okay, so there must be this edge case where if we just connect the anonymous ID, it's not actually, the listener's not actually changing. Let's go to our auth manager. And what we'll do, in our auth manager, we add a auth listener. And after we sign in, let's go ahead and just like recall add auth listener. And that would be adding another listener. So I think we also want to add a method to remove the auth listener, the first one. So let's jump into the Firebase auth service. This was an oversight on my end. Sorry, guys. So add listener. Let's also add a func remove authenticated user listen. And Firebase has an auth.auth.remove state did change listener. And we need to pass in the listener. So let's pass in a listener. And it's going to be the same any NS object protocol. Pass it in here. And I think we don't need the function. So just any NS object protocol. Pass in the listener. All right, so let's copy this and make this part of our auth service protocol. So we have the add listener and the remove listener. I think we're going to need to update our mock auth service as well. Let's go ahead and add this. We don't need to do anything in here. Now let's jump into our auth manager. And when we attach a listener, let's call the service.remove the listener. So here we'll say if let listener. So if there's an existing listener, we'll just remove it. Paste this here. And so let's call add auth listener. Right now we're calling it only when we initialize the auth manager. Let's also call it after we change the auth. Let's see, sign in anonymously, we would not have this issue. So I think that this is fine. But after signing Apple, let's add auth listener a second time. And then there's two ways that I can write this. So we can say let result equals this. So we get the result, we add the auth listener, and then we return the result. Or in Swift, there's a keyword called defer. So I could say run this as soon as this function, this closure finishes. So we can do here is actually a defer. And then I can return this value here. So this defer closure will execute after everything else in this method. So I know as soon as this is done, auth listener will trigger. Either of these approaches would have worked, but I think this will now solve our bug. So let's go ahead and build and run to the simulator. Again, sorry about that, guys. The auth is tricky. I've built so many apps and I still get stuck on things sometimes. This is sort of like an edge case because it's linking the user ID. But let's go ahead and jump in here. Let's delete our account, make sure that is working again. It is not working. The operation is sensitive and requires recent authentication. Oh, Firebase is killing us. So another hiccup here, Firebase has this extra security layer that if the user has not authenticated through their SSO account within, I think it's like the last 5 minutes or maybe the same session, they ask you to re-authenticate to prove that basically this is you so that you can delete your own account. It is a security measure, so to some degree, this is a good thing that it's in here. This would avoid like your friend opening up your app and then deleting your account, because when you re-authenticate, you'll have to go through the sign in with Apple process again, or the sign in with Google process. But it's super annoying for us. So let's try to just fix this quick. So we're getting this error in the auth manager delete account. So in the delete account start, it's got to be right in here. So inside this method, let's jump into the Firebase auth service. And it's got to be within here. So let's do a do and a catch. And let's try to get the error from this catch. So here we'll say let error equals, I think we already did this once. We got this NS error from Firebase here. So I'll copy this, paste it here. Except this time we were looking for the dot recent requires recent login. So if we get the requires recent login, then let's go ahead and ask for reauth. And the default would be to take the error and just throw it back to the application, throw the error. All right, so in here now, we need to basically re-trigger the sign in with Apple modal. Let's create a private func called re-authenticate user. This will be async and throws. So in here, we need to re-trigger the Apple modal, the sign in with Apple modal. So we already have code in here to sign in with Apple. So first, let's say let user equals, sorry, we'll do this, the guard let user. So in here, we'll say let UID equals the user dot UID. And we also have the auth providers equals the user dot provider data. I'm not sure whether we want the provider data or the provider ID. Let's do the provider data, and let's just print them out for now. So let's just go print this, and let's also print provider ID. And here we'll just call try await re-authenticate user. Let's build and run. So now if we try to delete again, we should go into this closure here. And this way we just print out the data. Switch our profile, try to delete account. And we're going to get and it deleted. Now it successfully deleted. Firebase, you are killing me, dude. All right. So our print statement definitely did not come out because we did not need to re-authenticate this time, which is so incredibly annoying. I don't know how it didn't happen this time. Well, let's keep testing our app, and then hopefully this will trigger at some point into the future. So let's go back. Let's get our purple set up here. We got our user profile. Let's create a chat. Let's create an avatar. Jesse is drinking in the park. Here we go. All right. Jesse's looking great, drinking in the park. Let's go ahead and connect our SSO. And all right, at least we fixed our bug. Our bug is now fixed, so it says sign out. That's exactly what we wanted. Maybe we should sign out, see if that works. That worked perfectly. Let's try signing in now. All right, this is all working great. Let's go ahead and let's delete our account. Delete. Delete account worked. All right. Now we literally can't even trigger the re-authenticate user, which is super annoying. So let's just finish debugging this quick. So when we go and we delete account, I'm just going to comment all of this out for a second, and let's just call try await re-authenticate user, and then it should work. So down here, we'll just throw an error, URL error, bad server response. All right, so now let's just go through and click the delete account button so that this triggers. And then we should be able to get the provider data so that we can actually make a decision on how to re-authenticate. Let's go ahead and log in. All right, let's try to delete the account. Click the button. Delete. Okay. See what printed out here. Provider ID is Firebase. Provider data is this array. So I think the data must be inside this array. Let's try it again. Let's go for user in user.provider data, or for item. Let's print out the item dot provider ID. Let's try that. Click our delete button quick. All right, so we printed out here apple.com. All right, so that's what we were looking for, because now we know that this was a SSO through Apple. So if we had a bunch of SSO in our app, this would tell us if the user went in with Google, went in with Apple, went in with something else. So we would know how to re-authenticate them. So you want, if it's an Apple SSO, you want to re-authenticate them with Apple. So in here, let's just say, let's do a little bit of code to get the provider. So we'll say, let provider ID equals the user.provider data first.provider ID. And let's also make sure we get that. So we'll do here. This should not fail ever, because we should only re-authenticate if the user has a provider ID. And now let's go ahead and let's switch on the provider ID. And we'll say case, if it is apple.com, now we know to re-authenticate them with Apple. Put a break here. And we'll say default. Let's go ahead and if it's not Apple, then there is some other SSO that we haven't set up in our app yet. So here we'll just throw an error. And let's actually just throw the original error. So the re-authenticate user, we're going to have a error that comes in. So let's pass in the original error of type error. And then we can just throw the original error. If it is Apple, let's go ahead and try to sign them in with Apple. So we'll say let result equals sign in Apple. This will be try await. So this should re-pop up the OS modal. And now let's check that the resulting user ID is the same as the original user ID. Because if for some edge case reason we did trigger the OS modal, they signed in and it actually switched their account, then they wouldn't be deleting the account that they switched to. So let's say here guard UID is equal to, I guess we could just call user.uid is equal to the result.user.uid else. And then here, let's add a new error. We'll do case reauth account changed. And we'll put here re-authentication switched accounts Please check your account. Just leave it something generic for now. Let's go ahead and throw here auth error dot reauth account changed. Signed in with Apple and it did not throw an error, then this would be successful. So now coming back to our code here, reauthenticate user, we'll pass in our error. And now if this is successful, let's put some comments here. Try to reauthenticate user, reauthenticate successful. Then let's return. Let's try to delete the user account again. So we'll call this here. Cool. I think that will set us up for the reauthentication problem. Go ahead and build and run our app. This was an entire video that I did not expect to have to make in this course, but I think it was probably good because these were some pretty important edge cases. I will say though that in your actual app, it is obviously important to manage the auth as well as possible. But let's also remember that users are very rarely deleting their account. It is a very small one-off instance, so it's not the end of the world if this isn't actually perfect. Let's go ahead and say something to Olivia. Cool. Let's go ahead and create an avatar. Let's say build a avatar called Jamal. Jamal will be smiling in the park. Cool. Let's go ahead and save that. Let's jump in. Let's go ahead and sign out. See if that works. Let's sign back in. Or actually, let's cancel it. Let's go through onboarding again. And maybe we'll do a red one. Jump in here. Let's come up here. Let's sign in with Apple. Looks like that's working. I'm going to stop and build and run it again. This time, let's go ahead and try to delete the account. And beautiful. All right, everything is back to working. Super stressful, but we did it. And now we can at least reuse this code in our other projects as well. A couple things to just point out here. Firstly is the massive amount of console logs that we have coming through the console now. It definitely is a lot of console logs, but this really does help me debug once you get going here, because now you can see all the data that's pumping through all of your user managers, your auth managers. It really gives you a lot of insight into what's really happening in your app. What I really love about this setup is that we can go into the dependencies file. We can easily turn off all of our parameters. So if I just switch this to false and I run the app, immediately like half of the stuff that's bringing up to the console is gone. And so now this is much easier for me to just see at a high level what is happening here. And if anything were to pop up here that was either yellow or red, I would immediately know that there's a problem. One of the functions are not working, right? We have nothing that is red in here, which is great. You could imagine that you build the app and then a bunch of things start failing. You'll get a bunch of red logs here immediately. So I love that we can switch these on and off. And I also love that we can also just turn off printing. If I don't include the console service, if I just comment it out here and build and run the app as well, I now have this case where basically nothing prints to the console. We have some Firebase logs here, but that's basically it. We basically don't have any logs coming through the console here. So I can see now I can use my app. And this also helps if for some reason we were really trying to debug and we wanted to ignore the logs and just put a couple print statements in our code, right? You see nothing is printing out here as we continue. Let's put our printing back on. I'll put print parameters as false. And let's end this video here with an Option Command C. Let's do a feature and let's call this, let's make this one a bug because we fixed a bunch of bugs, and let's just say fix analytic issues. Fix various analytic issues. And let's stage it. Let's also say add reauthentication for delete account. Let's stage it. Let's commit it. Push it up to GitHub. Sorry that you guys had to just deal with that. But I guess in some ways it was good that we actually debugged some of those bugs. Anyway, next video, I promise you guys, we are not going to write any code, and we're going to just do a little bit more review of our actual analytics. Thanks y'all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.